Tonight's lead, there's lots of buzz about Governor Chris Christie not backing down from this exchange with a protester.
You want to have the conversation later? I'm happy to have it, buddy. But until that time, sit down and shut up.
His response today is classic Christie. We'll have that later in the show. But we start with tonight's lead. 5 days before the election, the Republican infighting over the next election is bursting into view. Today, Tea Party Senator Ted Cruz implying Republican Jeb Bush would lose if he ran for the White House in 2016.
Jeb has not declared his candidacy. I like Jeb. I'm a fan of Jeb Bush's. I'm going to let him decide if he's running first and let the primary voters make a decision. But I will say this. We need to learn from history. We need to look to history and what works and what doesn't. If we run another candidate in the mold of a Bob Dole or John McCain or Mitt Romney, we will end up with the same result, which is millions of people will stay home on Election Day, which is what happened for all three of them. And if we run another candidate like that, Hillary Clinton will be the next president.
Senator Cruz taking a direct swing at Jeb Bush and in the process exposing the radicalism that the GOP has been desperate to hide in the midterms. In 2014, Republican candidates are as extreme as ever, even if they pretend not to be. In Iowa, tape just surfaced showing GOP candidate Joni Ernst in 2012 saying she carries a gun to defend herself from the government.
I have a beautiful little Smith & Wesson 9mm, and it goes with me virtually everywhere. I believe in the right to defend myself and my family, whether it's from an intruder or whether it's from a government.
In Colorado, GOP candidate Cory Gardner has been claiming he didn't really support a personhood effort to ban abortion, despite the existence of videotape like this.
Mr. Gardner.
Thank you. I have signed the personhood petition. I have taken the petitions to my church and circulating it in my church, and I have a legislative record that backs up my support for life.
In Georgia, GOP candidate David Perdue is trying to run as a moderate, even while he brags about outsourcing.
You made a career out of outsourcing. How do you defend that?
Well, defend it. I'm proud of it. I mean, this is a part of American business.
Republicans can run from their extremism, but they can't hide it. It's a problem for them in 2014, 2016, and beyond. Joining me now are Dana Milbank and Jason Johnson. Thank you both for being here.
Hi, Reverend.
Thank you.
Dana, we have to start with Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush. Is this the basic GOP split, extreme versus moderate, bursting into public view?
Well, or maybe it's extreme versus more extreme. I mean, it's interesting that he was saying Jeb was in the model of a Bob Dole or a Mitt Romney or John McCain, as opposed to the model of his own brother, George W. Bush, who won the presidency twice. So I think this is just an early shot across the bow. There's little secret that Ted Cruz would like to run for the presidency. The Republican electorate, primary electorate so far, has eventually gotten it right and said, no, we're not going to go with the most extreme character, even though they flirt with each one of the possibilities along the way. Ultimately, they go with the most electable one. If they are going to beat Hillary Clinton, they've got to come up with the most electable one, and chances are that's not going to be Ted Cruz.
Jason, I see you nodding. What do you say to this?
Look, I think Ted Cruz came to the right conclusion, but for the wrong reason. Basically, if there was a Bush against a Clinton, the Clinton's going to win. We have better memories of the Clinton years than we do of the Bush years. But the reality is, the last time the Republicans ran someone for president who portrayed themselves as a moderate, he won. Remember, George Bush said he was a compassionate conservative. It was Bob Dole, it was John McCain, it was Mitt Romney who spent the whole campaign talking about their conservative bona fides. So Ted Cruz is on the wrong side of history and campaign strategy. Republicans need a moderate to go up against Hillary Clinton. A conservative will lose badly.
You know, talking about infighting, Dana, in an interview with the Washington Post, GOP Congressman Paul Ryan hinted he might run in 2016. And he took a jab at his potential rivals who are in the running. All over the place, they've been going to early primary states. He said, quote, "I don't feel the need to be out there putting my toe in the water. I don't see the point in it. It's not fun, and I don't think I need to. I already know a lot of people in these key states well. They call me up, so I don't feel the need to have to chum." What do you say to that? And now look at where Chris Christie is going in the next 5 days before you answer, Dana. He's traveling to 19 different states. Is Paul Ryan taking a dig at Republicans like Christie, who are way out in front of the 2016 primary?
I don't know if he's taking a dig so much, Reverend, as he's saying this is his own way of dipping his toe into the water without actually having to go through the trouble of racking up all those air miles. Paul Ryan has been a bit reticent, saying his future is going to be in the Congress. So this is a significant shift for him. This Republican field is very crowded, and it doesn't really have any sort of a dominant figure. You know, you can sort of picture the Seven Dwarfs scenario here, although it seems like we're going to get rather more than that.
Jason, let's get away from the smoke and the TV ads. Look at 6 GOP candidates in key races. Let's deal with real policy since we're just a few days, 5 days away. Look at these positions. All of them oppose raising the federal minimum wage. All of them support repealing the Affordable Care Act. All of them support banning abortion or placing strict limits on it. These are all candidates for the U.S. Senate, all 6 of them. Is this an agenda that can win in a national election?
Oh, Reverend, you're exactly right. I don't think this is an agenda that can win in a national election, and it only wins in a local election when you don't talk about what you actually stand for. I think a lot of these Republican candidates have managed to do the sort of lipstick on a pig move, where it's like, I'm going to put on a nicer suit, I'm going to use different language, and no one's going to realize that I'm in favor of personhood and have no interest in helping to raise the minimum wage. But you can do that at a local level where people may not be paying attention. But during a 2-year presidential campaign, you can't hide from your record, and that's going to be really hard for any Republican running for president.
But Dana, in these critical national policy issues, this defines a lot of where the party is. Can the party win in a national election with these kinds of representatives in Washington?
Well, that's the thing, Reverend. What you cited there does not put these guys outside of the mainstream of the Republican Party at all. They will fit right in with the Republican caucus in the United States Senate. What's going to be interesting now is if they do take the Senate, well, there's going to be a lot of pressure to bring up all of these pieces of legislation like personhood bills. Now, of course, the president will veto them. But that will establish much more of a contrast that in a national election in 2016, Democrats will be able to say, look, this is what is going to happen. If there's a Republican president, he's going to start signing this stuff. So it creates a real contrast, and that's why there's some argument that having a Republican Senate right now creates a stronger position for Democrats in 2016. So
as we are seeing all kinds of people, including us, out saying, get out and vote, this is a very, very well-defined election because it's almost no mid-ground here in terms of clear positions on very serious policy issues.
Right. Look, I mean, most people, if they're paying attention to this election, they know what these Republican candidates are standing for. They know what these Democratic candidates are standing for. The real issue is going to be, can people and will people turn out to vote? And I want to say this, Rev, because not only do we have these clear choices on policy, but we have a clear choice on effort as well. I think that some of the things that have happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and what happened in Florida should remind people to not just vote policy, but vote on the local level as well. Your district attorney, your local sheriff, these races are important too. And I hope that people realize that these issues aren't just national, they can be local as well.
Dana Milbank and Jason Johnson, thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks, Reverend.
Thank you, Reverend.